Dave Delo, what do you have today?
Hey, well, just one more hollow form measuring tool from Joukowsky. Okay, so you get about 9 inches deep on this one, and it's very accurate. I just wish there was a mark or some type of scribe line that tells you how thick your wall is. But so I just do little pencil marks on there. But just another tool to buy. Okay.
That's like a professional version of the bent coat hanger, that one.
Yeah, exactly. But what I wanted to share this morning is, I've been on the look for better respiratory protection for years. And then COVID hit, and you could hardly get any PAPRRs out there, so I've used everything and have been using, from the cloth mask to the 3M half mask to finally settled in on an original trend air shield that I'd been using for years. And, that was getting a little heavy. And so I'd always wanted to get a PAPR. And so, but probably like most people, 13, 14, 1,500 bucks was a little bit steep. So I saw on the AAW site under the health and safety banner, there was a discussion, I think it was back in December, about respiratory protection and or discussion, respiratory discussion. And it was one of the people came up with this Optrail model that this welding supply house over in the eastern part of PA sells at half price. So I had mulled about buying one, and then he was out of stock, and then he was out of stock for a couple months, and then it finally came back on sale for $550. So I figured, with the new trend, and Peak Safety has stuff now, and there's a whole lot more choices nowadays for face masks and everything. But this one, they're like $400 or $500. So this one I felt was right where I wanted to be, money wise anyway. But it's the helmet is safety rated. It's got a HEPA filter in it, pre-filters, and the battery life is 18 hours.
You wearing that as a belt pack?
Yes. So this goes around your belt and connects with the hose here. Okay.
How noisy is that?
It's got a little whine to it, but I figured for the price that I paid, I'll put up with that. But
hey,
anyway,
so Dave, can you put hearing protection, the kinds that come down over the sides on that?
you can.
Because I know the trend has that, but I heard they were really bad.
I never considered that feature to be important to me when looking at stuff. So, of course, when I'm using the chainsaw, I use hearing protection, but just around the lathe, I've never considered that to be important for me.
Does that helmet seem sturdy enough for you for what it might have to resist?
I'm very satisfied with it. And I don't know the luck of the Irish or whatever, but I think like 2 weeks after I purchased this, which is about 2 months ago, the price went up to $750. But still, at $750 now, it's a deal, I think, compared to the VersaFlow and what is it, Airstream and all of that type of equipment.
Would you put the information where you got that in the chat, and then I can paste it in the follow-up email?
I will. Okay.
Cool. Any more comments on this? Want to go back?
Yeah, how well is the seal? How well is the seal on the?
Oh, excellent. It's top notch.
Can you put it on?
If you have a beard on the bottom of your face, just around the chin.
Put it on. Let's see it.
Yeah. So here we go like this. I pull it down.
Okay, thanks. Yep.
It
It's
has
the same-
that kind of an internal bib that goes down under your chin.
Yeah, it's just like my trend. Okay, that's fine.
How do you think
You're
that
right.
is over a
Trend does get
beard?
heavy.
How do you think that is over a beard?
I don't have one, but
It's
I really
probably not an
couldn't-
issue because it's blowing air out, right?
Yeah.
Blowing air out, right? Okay,
Yeah, no, it should be fine.
very interesting stuff. Any more questions?
Yeah, I had a piece come off my lathe and hit me in the head on my trend, and I was glad I had it on.
Yeah, I agree. It's heavy, but basically it does protect.
Yeah. So yours looks like it has enough rigidity there that it would take some kind of smack in the face.
it's what do you call this? Z is it what 81 plus
87?
or whatever that number is plus it has that rating to it. So it's just like all the other ones. You know, if you took a big chunk, you know, a 5-pound chunk came out of a piece, you know, I don't care which product you have, you're going to take a beating. Okay.
Mhm. Okay, thank you for that. That's always an ongoing topic of interest. I've been looking for something like that myself, and you've got it within my price point. With the $1,300 and $1,800 units, we're not.
Right.
And I also I see Kai is on screen. Are you there, Kai? Yeah, you have that system where you put on the belt, so it's like a shoulder harness to hold up the battery stuff. And some of us with a tummy might need that. But you were going to wear it for a few months and see if you used it or if you didn't. What's your results after using that for a few months?
Yeah, it's fine. I like it a lot, and I think the VersaFlow system, the 3M VersaFlow system, is similar to the one Dave has. So it's also the helmet thing, and I had some impact from a piece of wood flying off the lathe, and it protected really well. It has got thin covers that you can put onto the shield so that it doesn't get scratches. So the only thing that was left by this impact was a little scratch on this protection layer that is removable. It uses the hose, same thing, and it's also got the belt with the filter system and the battery pack. Mine is only good for 8 hours, the battery pack, but the way I use it, 8 hours is enough if I recharge it at the end of the day and then wear it again the next day. So the system is really fine, but it's pricier than the one Dave showed. So I guess Dave's system is a good alternative then.
Well, no, now that you've had it for a while, do you use it consistently?
Depends on what kind of work I'm doing. I use it definitely when I do bandsawing, because there I cannot get rid of all the dust that is produced by the bandsaw. I use it when I do sanding, especially bowls on the lathe, and I use it when I clean up my workshop and create a lot of dust from the floor and things like this. When I do pen turning, normally I've got a funnel that is big enough and that draws away all the dust from sanding. So I don't use it in this case. But for all bigger work and for cleaning up and bandsawing, it's really great.
Excellent. Good report. Thank you. I'm going to go back to a gallery so I can see everyone. Any more comments on the air shields and these other things before we move along? Bob Mathers, what do you have to say?
Okay, I hope I'm not being too casual with this. Is it safe to say most of the gentlemen who've been talking have a shop that's enclosed, and that's why they're going to just getting all this equipment? I know I just work out of my garage. I don't have a big shop, and often I'll just roll my lathe right out in the driveway and work out in the sunshine. But I use I've got my face shield. I've got an N95, one of those one-way masks where when you exhale, it blows it out, but you can't breathe in. And then oftentimes I'll just put a fan behind me or off at one angle and blow the dust away from me. And then on other occasions, I'll just use a shop vac near my lathe to suck off some of the sand if I'm sanding, especially. Am I being too casual here, or?
No,
So
that's
Bob, the OSHA
very good.
published a standard for dust, and they said for a 2-car garage, actually in an 8-hour period, it was like a tablespoon of dust in the air is the industry standard now, is the max. So if you're in an open area like that and it's blowing away from you, you're probably okay. To me, the measure I would use is if you're snotting stuff out the next day or that night, then you're not. But that fine dust can get into you, and that's what really hurts you. And you got to watch out for that stuff.
I've worked the way you are, Bob, for many years, mostly outside and, just letting the air carry it away, 3 seasons of the year, or in the doorway of a garage. I think that's pretty effective. It's when you get into the enclosed space and fine sanding that you really have to watch out for it. And it can really be insidious over a long period of time.
I think if you're turning exotic woods, you might want to ratchet it up one more level, even if outside, with woods that tend to be toxic.
What do you mean, right?
Still be very cautious, even outside, I think.
Well, how about having a
pretty cautious when I'm doing spalted wood.
Yeah, spalted wood actually is not any more of a risk. You don't want to, all dust, wood dust can cause serious problems, but Siri Robinson got a PhD in spalting and has written a book. She basically said the risk of spores or fungus from spalted wood is a kind of an urban myth. She didn't use those terms, urban myth, but she basically said you are not going to be growing those things in your lung from breathing spalted wood.
Well, that's good to
It's
hear.
no more dangerous than regular dust.
Most of it really is about particle size, and I think I heard it a couple of times. And even if you have a coarse mask is probably taking out the wrong things. It really is the fine particles that are the biggest danger. I did hear you say you had used an N95 mask, which would be taking out the small particles as well, probably pretty well. And that's the key. You want to keep this. And I think if you're inside or outside, those small particles sanding are still there.
Well, do you think, like I have a fiberglass worker's mask that fits around, has a rubber gasket. It's an N95 mask, but it's NIOSH rated for industrial use. I think it's pretty effective.
John, I think that one of the things people haven't also mentioned is that the mask for the nose is all well and good, but when you're sanding, if you don't have your proper eye protection on, you can get a lot of dust in your eyes, which is equally an irritant. Yeah. So having something, even I find that if I'm doing sanding, I have to put a face shield on regardless to keep the sand from the sanding dust from getting into my eyes.
I think the answer is to sand less, actually.
That is a good answer.
Okay.
They want it to be as safe as possible.
Hey, I contacted Trend. I heard there was battery life problems with them. I contacted them, and they seemed to say that they had fixed whatever battery problems. I asked them if they were changing to lithium-ion batteries, and they said they are in Europe, I think in Australia, but not in the United States. So it was just kind of an interesting.
The biggest problem with those was not only the battery, it was the charger that was a dumb charger. And you had to plug it in, I think, for like 18 hours to get a full charge. Well, if you just left it on and go away and come back 3 days later, basically you do that a few times and you've destroyed your battery. That seemed to be the biggest issue. It wasn't a smart charger like we tend to have on all our lithium drill batteries.
You're right.
That's been fixed.
I got one of those Trent things that pissed me off to no end because the battery charger did not fit into the actual battery properly. And I actually tore the cord off the battery because it was too snug, a battery charger. And it's like I haven't used it since because I got so angry with Trend on them. But yeah, it was a whole the connection between the battery and the charger and the battery and the face shield is really too tight on the old ones.
I had a different recall with them that had to do with the tightening of the headpiece, and they eventually sent me a new one, and it was never the same. And I think that's what caused me to essentially put it to the side and find something else.
Sarah, what's your comment about dust measurement?
Has anybody used any devices to actually measure the dust that they're generating in their shops and the devices that they have in place to collect that?
I didn't know there were any such device that would do that. Do you have any knowledge there?
I haven't done any measuring on the device, but the measuring I did do is I just recently installed a new dust collector in my shop. And I took an anemometer and I went around to all the places where I have my dust collection hoses. And so on my sander, I measure the actual velocity of the air coming off the sander, so I know how much air is going. And I have a 6-inch one now at my lathe, and I measured the velocity of the air coming off there, and I threw a whole bunch of dust up in the air just to watch where the natural airflows were. And every 3 minutes, all the air in my 24 by 24 shop goes through a HEPA filter. So every 3 minutes, this dust collector is doing a fantastic job. But I didn't measure the particle size. I just got a HEPA filter and I did the velocity and the volume calculations and say, well, every 3 minutes I'm changing the air or putting all the air in my shop through a filter. That really helped.
What system are you using?
I think it's I bought it from Canadian Woodworkers, so it's an FX Cyclone. It's a 2 horsepower FX Cyclone, 1500 CFM, and it's got about a 3 foot tall HEPA filter, which captures, I think, 95 or 96% of the 0.1 micron, whatever the.
So that's a big canister on top of a bag, is that right?
No, it was a Cyclone separator, so the big chunks go into a tub, and then the filter's beside it with a small bag on the bottom. Okay. And I went through all of the specs of all the ones that were available. And this particular model, I think it's made in, it's either Korea or Taiwan, but Canadian Woodworker brings it in. I think it's called FX, an FX, well, I forget the numbers on it, but it's got 10 inches of water column draw. And all of the other competitors were like 6 and 8 or whatever. And then when I tested the velocities, I leave a 6-inch and a 4-inch open all the time so that the blower can pull the maximum amount of air through the filter rather than choking it down so that it has a high negative pressure at a particular device. I read an article about airflow going through the filter is more important than having the high suction at a particular location. So any dust doesn't go into the hose right at that location. If you got another 6-inch one open about 2 feet away or 3 feet away, any dust that does come out is immediately drawn into the filter. So my view on it was the more air I can put through the filter means my whole shop just stays cleaner. And the decibel rating was around 60, so it wasn't bad.
Okay.
I think the simple answer to Sarah's question, though, is that there isn't a simple way to measure the size of the particles and the volume that you're essentially being exposed to at any given time. I think you can do the kind of things that's being suggested is how many times are you turning over the air, what is the minimal size or maximal size of the particles you're taking out. But to actually know what is hitting your face and what size those particles are, I don't know of an easy way to do that.
Some things are non-intuitive. There was one of the woodworking magazines several years ago that was evaluating the various overhead air filtration units that have a bag inside, and intuitively you'd think a high speed would move the air through it faster and clear your shop faster. What they're finding is the higher speed kept the particles circulating in the air longer.
So volume is the issue versus speed. You want to move a big gulp of air.
Well, you want the filter to be working within its design range so the filter can be more effective. And the filters get more effective as they get plugged.
And the whole topic becomes very, very complex. And a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing because it makes you feel like you're safe. You've really got to do some serious research if you're really serious about protecting your lungs.
Yeah. Hey, Sarah, if you have any contacts with people in the safety community, like at a community college or, in a trade school or at a factory, those people can probably bring a tool over and use it at your house, or, I would recommend that, because not only just exactly what Mike was saying. They know the facts behind this stuff, what's good and what's bad, but they may have the ability to bring a tool and measure it for you too.
That's a good suggestion. Yeah, because they are quite expensive.
And you don't need to do them often.
No, you
Right.
need a baseline. You need to know what you're working with and understand your own situation. Well, on that, I think that's a very good discussion, and I thank everybody for playing into that one. Mike.
Wood shop. Thank God for wood.